welcome to our review of the Josh Kelly fight night. It's episode 4 for haircuts and uppercuts, and holy shiitake mushrooms, what a night. That was banging.
Yeah, brilliant night of boxing. I don't know what fights you want to start with, but I thought every fight apart from one first round knockout were very entertaining. Kind of tide change within fights. Really good evening of boxing for me.
Yeah, as a evening as a whole, more entertaining than last week. Obviously, last week was all about Josh Warrington, wasn't it? I think we should start from the bottom and work our way up because Jordan Gill really impressed me last night. I've watched him a few times, and he can be a bit boring sometimes in fights, but he was in a tough fight with a tough Mexican, and he well deserved that win.
I mean, that's the first time I've watched him, but for the majority of the fight, this guy wanted a trade of him, and Gill weren't having it, and quite rightly so. He was, he really worked the ring well. He controlled the pace of the fight, and easily deserved points to win for me.
Yeah, he boxed beautifully.
Yeah, boxed brilliantly. He wouldn't be drawn into the trade-off, which I thought was fantastic.
Yes, he boxed very clever, and Eddie was saying in a post-fight show that the Mexicans that was over for this week, you know, Lara's performance last week really put a rocket up their arse, and you could see that from the two Mexicans' performances on the night. They wanted to come forward and bang and trade, and he wasn't having none of it. He just outboxed him.
Yeah, I think as well. You can see, obviously I said with Josh Warrington last week. Josh looked like he just wanted to take this guy's head off. And the other Mexican he was fighting was trying to do that. And I feel with Gill's performance was so good, he didn't resort to that. You know, he did get caught. He did get caught with big shots, and he just didn't get into the standing trade-off. He stuck to his game plan, and he just slogged it out and won the rounds. Yeah, convincingly.
I thought it was brilliant, and I know Johnny Fisher. You say he looks more like a rugby player than a boxer. Funny because he used to play rugby.
He should be playing rugby league for Warrington, shouldn't he?
He should be, mate. The guy is. I think he's going to be interesting to watch. I think he's another Alan Babbage, but
do you know? Honestly, you can never. It's hard with these fights because you see him first time. You know, I thought he looked like he actually had quite quick hands, but look at the opponent he's fighting, and again, I've never watched fight. So I think they're quite interesting fighters like that. It'd be nice to see his next few fights to see who he's up against and
see how far
well he'll do.
I'd like to see him fight Alan Babbage in a year. I think that'd be a very entertaining fight. They're both just two swingers.
Yeah, and I think obviously that fight, he went in there, fair play to the lad. He had to do what he had to do, didn't he? Was he only had 4 amateur fights?
Yeah, 4 amateur fights. But he's one of Joe Joyce's sparring partners, and that's got to be.
It's got to be something, isn't it?
Yeah, you've got to get a lot of experience from sparring a silver medal Olympian.
Yeah.
Should have been gold medalist. Tony Yoko.
And he looks like
gold.
And then he looks like he's from Barnsley and not from Romford.
Yeah, to be fair, he looks more northern than Essex, doesn't he?
Yeah, definitely.
But obviously, I want to get on to the main event. But another Mexican beat another Brit, didn't they?
Yeah, Robbie Davis Jr. Obviously, my boy lost.
Yeah, you backed him.
Only because I'm my name, but no, I thought that could have been. Obviously, Scott mentioned the last podcast. You know, will there be a kind of points robbery discussion? If there was ever going to be one, it would have been that fight.
Oh, we were
thank God it didn't happen because it was a close fight, but the Mexican won that for me.
Yeah, we were saying over WhatsApp, we was watching it, weren't we? Like, oh God, is he going to get robbed here? Is he going to get robbed?
Yeah, we're saying if he gets robbed, this would be great for the podcast, won't it? But,
but thankfully
he didn't get robbed and quite right. Yeah.
What I don't understand though is, Dom Ingles telling him to go southpaw in the corner, stay southpaw, stay southpaw. Unless he's injured, his left arm. I didn't quite understand it, and neither did Dave Caldwell or Eddie Hearn because they were saying the shot to hit a southpaw with is just straight right hand. Everyone knows straight right hand and a left hook will hit a southpaw. They're your two best.
I mean, it's
and he couldn't miss. He couldn't miss with a straight right hand. Why is Dom screaming at him in the corner to stay southpaw? What did he have something wrong with him? What was the mentality behind it? We'll probably never know. But I was watching.
I mean, for me, I thought from round one he kind of knew he was in a bit of a. Looking at him, he thought, "Oh, what have I got myself into here?"
Oh yeah, straight away the first punch that landed, his head snapped back.
Snapped back. You could feel it. But fair play to him. I thought after watching the first few rounds, and then there was a moment. Was it the fourth or fifth round where he got knocked back on the ropes? And I think that was, for me, I thought it was a bit of a slip when I saw it. But fair play to him. He did come back into the fight, and he started winning rounds. I just think overall he got beat. It was a fair result. Kind of remind me a bit of Billy Joe Saunders, Chris Eubank Jr. Actually, there's a fight of two halves for me. Yeah. The Mexican for me, the last two rounds, he's been robbed before. I was saying in the commentary, he had to get something out of the last two rounds, and he went for the knockout and fair play.
Oh yeah, that
won in the fight.
That last round was arguably round of the night.
Yeah,
brilliant.
Yeah, it was. I thought that's probably fine. No, actually, for me, it's a really interesting fight to watch.
Yeah. So my predicted fight of the night was Florian Marku against Ryland Charlton, and I had honestly thought Marku's arrogance would be his downfall, and it nearly was.
It nearly was, yeah. When he got caught. That was a bit of a wake-up call for him, wasn't it? He was bossing the fight. Don't get too cocky.
He was winning every round. Well, in my opinion, he was. Charlton had him on the back foot, but it was Bull and Matador situation at times. And Marku's talking to him, taking the piss, being arrogant. And then when he got dropped, I thought, "Oh, that's it, mate." I was like, your arrogance is going to be your downfall.
And it wasn't a flash knockdown either, was it? It was.
No,
it was a knockdown.
They say he tripped over his feet. Well, he conveniently punched in the head seconds before.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, no, that was that landed. That landed well.
I thought that was a cracking fight as well. No, old man.
Yeah.
So,
and as well in that, he kind of prompts to Charlton knocked him down. He got back up and he won the fight. And that could have been down. How many times have we seen big fighters get knocked down like that and a fall to pieces?
Exactly.
So for me, that was a good testament of his
Marku's got
skill set, etc.
Years and years and hundreds of fights worth of kickboxing to fall back on to use his experience, and that experience clearly paid dividends.
I think like Dylan White is the same thing, doesn't he? Yeah. And I think that's because I don't think Dylan White is a amazing boxer. I think he relies on a big over right hand, left hand, a big over right hand really. But that kickboxing experience, just the years of being in the ring competing, gets you through fights when you get knockdowns and when you.
I can tell you from personal experience, when you get a shin to the side of the head, it hurts.
Yeah, definitely.
But I'll hold my hands up. I said I like Marku and I think he's entertaining. I like his sense of humour. But I did think he'd get beat because I thought his arrogance would get the better of him. It nearly did. Like you said, it was the wake-up call he needed, even though he was winning every round. And it was as if we were, all right, playtime's over now, let's close the show.
Yeah, I think we really need to give credit as well to Charlton's corner for throwing the towel in when they did.
Definitely.
That was... and I love the fact Charlton didn't whinge about it. It was the right thing to do.
No, I think that based on their previous performances, is another reason why I probably thought Charlton would win, because Marku's always been arrogant and he looked awful in his last fight. He got a draw, arguably should have won it, but he didn't look amazing. Where Charlton went in against Joe Laws. He looked absolutely brilliant. Brought in as the opponent.
I watched that the other day, actually.
I've watched it about
I've never watched Charlton before. Yeah, it was a great fight.
Yeah, he's a chef in a care home as his day job.
Oh, fair play.
You wouldn't want to send your food back, would you?
Before Gordon Ramsay was mad.
Innit?
But this guy whacker.
He seems like a really nice, likable guy, and I'm glad Eddie signed him on a 2-fight deal. Hopefully, he'll keep him on, because the one thing I've enjoyed from these lockdown boxing shows is, you know, the small hall fighters getting their shot on TV, because they are entertaining and they prove the fact you don't have to come for the Olympics, you don't have to have a huge PR machine behind you to build up a fan base.
Yeah, definitely. As I mentioned before, you know, Rachel Bull's a great example of that. Yeah, she got a chance. I think she works in a care home, like you said, Ryan Charlton does. Got a chance, beat Shannon Courtney, close fight. For me, she won it, and then she went on WBC interim title, won that. It's life-changing for some of these boxers.
Yeah.
And it's been good. It's been really good.
I think it's about time we moved on to the main event then.
Well, I got that right, didn't I? Not the first round knockout, so you don't owe me 10 points. But I call. Well, I call it. Yeah, I looked at the guy's record, mate. I'm not gonna lie, I'd never watched him fight before, but he beat him out.
It was a bloody mess, man. He
He
needed a blood.
I don't know if he done his eardrum or because he was bleeding out of his ear. It looked like.
It was the back of his head.
The back of his head. Yeah.
It was just Hay Thompson, wasn't it? I said I had a feeling it was going to be Hay Thompson, but I didn't listen to my gut. I should have. You know, Josh Kelly came out, looked fast, looked brilliant, and he even hurt Avanesyan badly in the second round. He went back,
you
know, to the ropes, and he obviously managed to stay on his feet, recovered. But I saw at the end of the third round, I could see the pace drop slightly from Kelly, and Avanesyan was getting off some good body shots, and he was managing to close down the range. And that was the point then I thought the tide's slightly turning here, and it did.
Yeah, I mean, I know it could be a bit of a talking point, but is he another Matchroom Eddie Ahern hype job? Because
I don't know. I don't think so. It's only his 11th fight.
I'm kind of saying that for the content of the podcast because you know, we've had a Josh Warrington get beat last week by nobody. A lot of people in the US are saying another UK hype job.
Oh yeah, I know the talk from a lot of US boxing fans, especially on social media, saying that, you know, UK boxing's dead. You know, they're all hype jobs, but I agree and disagree with your statement about Kelly, though. He's I don't think he's a hype job. I think he was overhyped, which I think is quite a fair statement to make, because he does have that big PR machine behind him.
Yeah.
But with that,
for example, you know, like Charlton beforehand, he fought is it Law, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Newcastle. And this guy's won a couple of fights, and at the time he's calling out, you know, your Devon Haney's, etc. And you just kind of sat there, and you know, the Matchroom kind of all the fighters who work in Matchroom are going, "Oh, he could fight them," and it's like, just stop hyping this kid up as much as you are. And that probably cost ultimately be his downfall in that fight. He thought he was better than he was, and
unnecessary pressure, inflated ego.
Yeah.
But both the cuts that Kelly sustained in the fight, I've watched the fight back 3 times since last night, and it's not even 10 o'clock yet. But the cut on the back of the head was caused by an elbow, and the cut over the eye was an accidental clash of heads.
Yeah, which happens. That's part and parcel of boxing, isn't it? Like
boxing, it's not tiddlywinks. But
yeah,
you know, his 11th fight, 2 nasty cuts. The one on the back of his head was bleeding heavily, man. That was.
I was really trying to figure out where that cut came from, because I straight away thought, oh, his eardrum coming down the back of his neck.
Yeah, because it was all over the place.
I couldn't figure out where it came from, how it happened while watching the fight. It looked bad.
I'm not taking anything away from Avanesyan because he boxed the perfect fight for him.
Yeah.
He took the early onslaught. He knew, even his whole team was saying, we expect to lose the first 4 or 5 rounds, but we expect to stop him, between 6 and 12. They wasn't going in there for a points win. They was going in there to play the long game to get a knockout. Lose the early rounds. You're not going to be able to outbox him at that speed. Wait till he slowed down a bit. But as soon as them cuts happened, I thought he slowed down quickly. I don't know if it was panic or anything like that, because
is that experience as well? I mean, I've not really watched a lot of Josh Kelly, but has he ever been in a war like that?
No, he hasn't.
Yeah, and again, this is where I go back to my statement about Matchroom. They're great, and the minute they put them in a tough fight, and this happens with a couple of fighters, they put them in a tough fight, and the minute they get caught, they're in trouble. And maybe that's putting them in with people too quickly. Like, what was Kelly put into that fight? Was that too quick for him? Should he have maybe have a couple more fights?
Well, we all said it's the experience levels between them, they're miles apart. But we thought the youth and the athleticism and his amateur experience would help him in that fight. It clearly didn't, but I think a lot of people get hung up on undefeated records. No,
100%, yeah.
No one in the UFC cares if someone's got 5 or 6 losses. They're still pulling a massive audience. I think the Mayweather effect on boxing is.
I think it's not done boxing well.
No, it hasn't.
The Mayweather effect is.
But like Conor Benn said when they was talking to him after the fights, he said, look, he goes, he's lost the fight. It's not about losing, it's about how you come back and you rebuild.
Yeah.
And he looked down the camera and was like, I will lose a fight at some point, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah, he did, didn't he?
And it's like, well, yeah, that's the attitude you got to have. Yes, you have to believe that you're going to win every fight you go into. You have to have that arrogance about you, or else you wouldn't be getting in the ring to be punched in the face.
I mean, for me, for Josh Kelly, that was, as I said in the last podcast, for me, that was, I know you say every fight's a must-win fight, but, you can lose fights. That was a big moment for him in his career. Yeah. As in, that's European level. Will he, that for me was a jump to world level. And it could be a long road back for him now. But we'll have to wait and see.
It will be a long road.
Luckily, he's with the right promotion.
Yeah, it will hopefully help. But it will be a long road back, but he's young. That was only his 11th fight, and he's probably learnt more from that one loss than he has in his 10 previous fights.
Yeah, definitely.
Because he's been in there with someone who can handle his speed in the early rounds.
And he's very young as well, isn't he? For example, the Warrington's loss is a lot bigger.
Oh, yeah, massively.
He's 30, I think.
Yeah, and let's face it, that's for a featherweight, that's old.
Yeah, and how do you sort of come back from that? Unless you take the immediate rematch and win it, which I'm not convinced he would.
I don't know. Lara might be another Andy Ruiz. The win might get to him, but then again, I don't think it will, because Andy Ruiz was very well.
Everyone has my views. Yeah, and Andy Ruiz, let's be honest, that was heavyweight, and he became a global superstar overnight.
Yeah, overnight. Yeah, he beat Golden Boy.
Yeah, and for me, my opinions on that second fight, I want to see Ruiz Joshua 3. So I think Josh should need to answer a few more questions for that. So
yeah, well, we'll have to get into that in another podcast, because
definitely, yeah.
I could talk about that second fight for hours, because I thought he looked brilliant in patches, and I thought he looked terrified in patches in that fight.
Yeah.
But fair play to Avanesyan. I think he's going to have to fight over it a few more times, get in front of the British fans again. I've watched him fight loads of times, and I've always been impressed with him. Yeah, he's got a couple of losses on his record, but it's boxing.
I think that, you know, if you fight, you know, if he gets far like that, yeah, he's got the British fans on board now. I would have thought, you know, I'll tune into his next fight. Again, you know, we're saying with the Warrington fight, Scott's friend Matt, you know, he tuned in, he watched it. It's brilliant. I'm hoping he tuned in last night because that's a great card of boxing.
Well, yeah, I think, you know, that's going to be a hard card to beat. You know, I know it.
Yeah.
There wasn't any world title fights on it. There was a European title fight. There was no British title fights.
Yeah.
But it was just good, solid fights. And apart from the Johnny Fisher fight, they were all 50-50s. There was no one in the away corner that you knew was going to get battered.
Yeah, I mean, you were looking at, every time it went into the last round, all of them fights, you're thinking, you know, either one, this guy's got it on points. One of them could land it. Well, yeah, one of them could really make a statement last round, which didn't happen, but the tension was there.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It was good to watch. For a fan, it was good to watch.
I wasn't even scoring the fights as I was watching them last night. I was that engrossed in them. You know.
Yeah, they're saying, Luke, because normally when we do this podcast, I'll make notes round by round. Last night, I think I've done it for the first time. In 3 rounds, I just kind of stopped and was just watching it and enjoying it.
Yeah, I thought it was best night of boxing so far this year, but you know, we're only in February.
Yeah, true. And we have got Rumble on the Rock, haven't we, coming up?
Oh yeah. Well, the thing is, I said to Pete, our friend Pete, that you know the poster for it looked like something out of Lord of the Rings, and he was like, "Nah, mate, it looks like Lion King." So every time I see that picture now, it's like all I think of is Lion King.
I think it's just like I thought Rumble on the Humble was bad. No, it's got Rumble on the Rock, isn't it?
But yeah, next week, Alvarez, Saul Canelo Alvarez.
Yeah, if I'm being, I'm not too interested in that fight.
Oh no, you know he's gonna battle.
Yeah.
But you know, it'd be an interesting thing to talk about next week.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a fight. You know, anyone watching this I wouldn't say tune into Canelo Alvarez to watch him get a standard win.
Yeah, a routine win.
Yeah, I mean, the big one for me with him will be Billy Joe Saunders.
Yeah,
I'll be urging everyone on this podcast tune into that fight because, in my eyes, you could potentially see one of the biggest upsets in boxing history.
Yeah, Billy Joe is sick.
It's a great fight. What he done to David Lemieux is unbelievable.
We'll have to get into that next week. Talk about
Definitely, yeah.
Billy Joe. Right. Thanks for watching, and if you watched the boxing last night, I hope you enjoyed it. We clearly did. You know, Rob, so what time you set your alarm for? Drag yourself out of bed with your hangover to do this?
9 o'clock. My phone died, so luckily the gods called and I woke up.
Right, thank you very much. And
can we just add? That's I won the scoring there for the main event.
Yes, you
did.
It's
1-0. Thank you.
Yeah. Right, sweet. And we'll get together Monday and record another one.
Yeah, brilliant.
Right, wicked. Thanks very much.
See you later.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.